Hey guys, Angie Haddon with LPT Realty, and I'm here with the other Angie, minus the E, Trapp, also with LPT Realty. We are going to be talking today about real estate. So, Angie, you've been a real estate agent for how long?
Not quite 2 years.
Okay. I love your little grin, your little smile. Everybody thinks real estate is so easy and everybody wants to get their real estate license. And so I get questions all the time about how to get into real estate, why'd you get into real estate? So these videos are also just going to be informational. So we're just going to talk about just what it looked like from the beginning to today. So I'll start with the first question. What inspired you, or what what were you thinking when getting into real estate? So what inspired you to get into it and drove you to this crazy industry that we just love so much?
That's such a great question. And the thing is, I was helping manage a couple of short-term rental properties
Okay.
and really, really enjoyed it. But in Florida, you can't be paid as a property manager unless you have your real estate license. So I decided to get my license. It was something I wanted to do full-time, property
Okay.
management.
So
And
you're even crazier.
even crazier.
Okay.
And so when I got my license and began investigating what it meant to be an actual property manager for long-term rentals, it was not for me. It was absolutely not for me. But what I was finding was for me was the possibility of helping people get into a new home, most particularly renters,
Okay.
because people can't afford their rent. But what they don't realize is if you're paying rent, you are paying 100% interest, which doesn't make any sense to me. And I just fell in love with the real estate business and the hustle and bustle that goes with it,
Yeah.
not knowing that I was going to have to drown before I learned how to swim.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we've all been there as
Yeah.
well too, and I love what you said about the interest rate, like it is with renters. I mean, 100%, and I feel like that's probably the biggest struggle in this market right now. Is people are like, "Oh, the interest rates are so high." Yeah, they're high, but so is 100% of somebody else's mortgage.
Yes.
So, um, so I guess let me ask you this, and these aren't on our questions. So I have, just so everybody knows, we have like 5 questions that we're going to talk about, but it opens the conversation. So a lot of people call me and they're like, "Hey, where do I go to get my real estate license? Where did you go to get your real estate license?" There's so many different programs and schools. Like I went through Bob Hogue. It took me 2 weeks, but there's also online. You can
Yep.
do it over a year. So what
Yep.
was your story like?
I did Calibri online, all
Okay.
exclusively online, and I had a wonderful experience. I thought it
Okay.
was very practical. It was easy to follow. As it was at my pace. I was working full time,
Okay.
and volunteering and going to real estate school. So I needed something that I could fit in
To
when
your
I
schedule.
had time to fit it in. So online worked for me, and I found the school to be very comprehensive, easy to follow, and I only took the test one time.
Good for you. Man, I'm jealous. There are so many people that they say like what you learn in the class versus the test versus real life real estate, it's like it's not the same. So of course
Mm-mm.
like you got to learn how to tie your shoes before you can go running. Which she also does love to do. I need
Do
that inspiration as
I
well.
do?
But yeah, I'm a hands-on person. I need to be in front of somebody like telling me what to do,
Sure.
writing it down. So I took a week off of work, and I just remember back in the day running the title company. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get my license, and I took a week off and I went and I did the class, and it
Mm-hmm.
was nice because I got the 40 hours in. Passed the class test, and then it took me I think 2 or 3 times to pass my test, but I'm also not a good test taker in my mind, so I had to get past that. And I
Yeah.
just remember the lady being like, "You passed," and I was like, "I love you," and she was like, "I love you too. I don't know you." So I tell a lot of people I love them, and they think I'm crazy.
That's
So
okay.
all right, so I was like, property management inspired you to get into real estate. So
Yeah.
they already sound crazy. I love it. because property management is not fun, not for me, not anything I want to ever
No,
deal with.
nor
I
for
mean,
me.
even investment properties, it's like I don't want to ever be the property manager of my own investment properties when the in the residential world for sure. Um, so did we already ask what was the biggest challenge starting out?
We didn't ask
Okay.
that. And people don't tell you a couple of things. One, like you mentioned, what you learn in real estate school has nothing to do with being a real estate
Yes.
agent in the real world. The biggest hurdle for me was understanding that this is my business. It's not my career. It's not my job. Everything that has to do with my real estate career is my business. Every aspect of it, I have to be in control of, and I have to understand.
Yes.
And if you don't pay attention, or if it's not important to you, these little pieces of the business, they're going to get away from you. And the next thing you know, you're going to be turning around and you haven't paid your taxes, or you're not managing your time, or, there's a million things that could happen. But this is a business, and you need to be able to wear all the hats, and you need to understand, if something fails, this is my business, my livelihood.
Yep.
That fails.
Well, yeah, and if you don't have all of the tools in your arsenal, I guess you could call it, um you could also get into, I don't want to say like a shit mess, but you
You
guys know
could.
my videos, I just say it how it is, so I apologize
Yes.
in advance.
Yes, girl.
So yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces, and there's a lot of things to be taught, to be learned. And I feel like that's probably one of the biggest things. Like, I feel like people in general, not even just this industry, don't like to read. Like, I don't like to read, but if I'm selling a property for somebody and there's a 95 page of condo writer, or not condo writer, but condo docs, like, you have to go through those, because if you're the listing agent, we have to be able to tell the buyer or the potential agent that's coming on the other side of the transaction what's allowed, what's not allowed, or be able to say, like, here's the bylaws, you can find it in this section. Or even just to be able to know that you're on septic and not sewer. And there's so many people, like, I got phone calls like crazy, from a client, a previous client. His son had purchased a property, and the buyer's agent didn't know, or didn't even care to tell him that it was on septic. He moved into the house, and next thing you know, the whole house is flooded, and he's got to spend like $15,000 on remediation and a whole new septic tank. And it was just like, what do you mean? In the listing docs, it said public sewer. So
That happened to me too.
yeah,
it's the exact same thing happened to me.
it's like, you don't know what you don't know. So in real estate, if you are not ready to learn every different nook and cranny of owning a house, buying a house, selling a house, maintaining a house, and just end your video here and say, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to work 50 to 60 hours a week, nights, weekends, and constantly be in front of a computer or being in front of people, then again, in this video here, it's not for you. But if you are, let's connect and let's grow, because that's, I feel like, the motto for 2021. Oh my goodness, 2025, is let's grow, because that's what we're doing here. We're growing.
And I want to add to that too, Ange. There's enough for everyone. The mentality of keeping things to yourself, don't let that go.
Yes.
Let that go. There is enough for everyone, and the more you help others, the more beneficial this world is going to be to you.
Yeah.
There's so much out there.
There's plenty to go around.
Yes.
And we've said that from the title days. Everybody was always worried about, like, who's doing what and who's doing this. And it's like, hey, let's just focus on what we're doing and our process, because there is plenty of business to go around. There's over 29,000 real estate agents in Pinellas and Pasco County, or Pinellas and Hillsborough County alone. So though somebody out there for you, it might not be either one of us.
Yeah.
But just I would always say as well too, is just research and interview.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I like to say. Like, I would love to sit through an interview, because I'm going to bring something to the table that somebody else isn't, or somebody else is going to bring something that I'm not. I don't specialize in first time home buyer down payment assistance, like if that was the case, I would send it to you, or I would send it to Hannah Lynn, or I would send it to somebody in those specific areas. So it's also like we're also growing each other by
Yes.
sharing the business.
Yes.
So the real estate agents locally are the people that you want to work with, because those are the people that are going to help you be successful as well too.
Yep.
And it's one less thing you have to be like an expert in, because I'm like, I know when people are like, oh, what about the city of Clearwater? I'm like Andrew or Hannah are gonna know that for sure. Like, yeah. Here you go, you're in good hands. Yep. So let's ask the next question. How has the Florida market changed since you began? So I feel like you came in at a fun time. This past year, I want to say it's probably been the most difficult year. It's been the hardest year. So 2025 was probably the hardest I've done. I personally did less than I did the year before, but I feel like I worked 10 times harder. So your first year in compared to this second year that we're ending, tell us about that.
You know, it goes back to, if you're not willing to work really hard and go without in the first year or so that you're doing real estate, stop the video. This is not for you. I had one transaction in my first year, and it was so frustrating and demoralizing and humbling to know that I will put in the work, but how do I get to the point where people want to work with me? Where are those people? How do I find those people? So one transaction in my first year, and it was a referral. So I ended up, people think real estate agents like shower themselves with buckets of money. I made
more like we're like, here you go, like take more.
Yep, I made basically no money on that transaction because it was a referral. I was with a brokerage that had a very high split.
Okay.
But I learned a lot from that transaction and studying other people's transactions that I happened to come in contact with. So into the second year, as I began learning to be myself, for one thing, switched brokerages where I was able to be who I am and be comfortable in my own skin, and also stepping away from the idea that interacting with industry professionals is a waste of my time, which is what I was told for the first year. Just in all honesty, I was told, don't spend your time with real estate people or lenders or title people. They're of no benefit for you. They're not your clients. That's right. They're not my clients. But having a team around me of real estate professionals, not just realtors, but lenders, title, insurance,
all of it,
moving people, like that, having those people in my circle who can answer the questions that I can't answer. No way can an agent know everything. No. When it comes to mortgage specific questions, my first go-to is, let me connect you to my preferred lenders or people that I've worked with who have answers for what you're asking for. So for me, the thing that is the most important is get to know industry professionals who are experts in their field, so that when you don't have the answers, the experts can answer the questions for your clients, so everyone is educated and has a better experience.
That's good. And I think that that's very smart for one, but then it's also teaching you as well. And I feel like a lot of those people, you form those relationships, and then when you're in the position, I mean, I've used a handful of lenders, like you said, to purchase different properties, and it's nice to be on the end of it as well too, for one, to reciprocate, but also to go through the process. So what, I guess it kind of goes back into the first question, but what advice would you give someone that wants to come into the real estate world, like as a career, not as a part-timer? Because we do have, I mean, we do have part-timers as well too.
Sure.
I mean, and I say part-timers, but there's people that they want to learn it, but you can't just jump right in. So
Yeah.
teaming up, we have a girl that works with us as well too, that owns the ice bar in Safety Harbor, and it's that struggle in the economy where it's like you can't find the right people, but once she fits that right person in there. So if you're watching and you need a job, the ice bar is hiring.
Yeah, the ice bar,
Downtown
great
Safety
place to
Harbor.
work.
Yes, I'm actually going to go there today
Yeah.
after lunch. But what advice would you give somebody coming into the real estate industry as a full time or even part time real estate agent?
I think be true to who you are. I I felt when I got with my first brokerage that I was being stifled and not allowed to really be who I was. If you are in a situation where the people you're interacting with on the daily don't make you feel good about what you are doing, or you don't feel comfortable in that situation, find the situation that fits you.
That's good.
Be who you are, because you can't be a great real estate agent if you're busy trying to be something that you're not. You're never going to connect with people. I want people to know, here's who you get. I'm a hard worker. I'll do all the things for you. And there are things that I'm not, that other agents are. I'm not a suit and tie kind of gal.
I love it.
I do enjoy dressing up, but give me a dangle earring, and a cute top, and I'm good. But be who you are. Just live in the authenticity that is yourself, so that you can enjoy. This is fun.
Yeah.
This is a fun thing to be doing for a living. So
And
be who you are.
I love that you said that, because realistically, like, you could be like, we're with LPT Realty, right? And I love LPT Realty because it gives you the opportunity to be your own brand, to build your own brand. As where if you're with the other brokerages, I'm not going to say them because I don't want to bash them. I have plenty of people that work for other brokerages, but it's like they want you to conform, and you have to be in an office setting, and yes, you have to be dressed up on a daily basis. 98% of the time you're going to see me in athleisure wear with a hat on backwards, and that is me. So I love that you're saying that, because the listing that we have together, I remember getting a phone call from the seller, and he was just like, hey, another client had given him my contact information, and it was so nice, because it was a Sunday afternoon. I was actually painting a listing that I was getting ready to put on the market. I was like doing some touch up, and the next thing you know, it was the wrong color paint, so I'm like painting the whole wall. I got my kid with me. We were going to a fishing store, and the next thing you know, he was like, hey, yeah, we'd love for you to come by and see the house. And I was like, okay, well, I look like a bum because I've been painting. And he was like, oh, we don't care. So 30 minutes later, I'm at their house, and then the next time I saw him, I was actually in normal clothes, and it was funny, because it is me, and he was seeing that. And then I went back to help him when you came over as well too, to clean up stuff. So it is be yourself. So I love that. That's great advice.
Yep.
And I actually had this conversation with a lender today as well too. So what is something that you've learned over the first year or 2 years of your career that you would have wished you would have known sooner, or maybe something that you failed at, that you're like, I'm never going to do that again?
One thing that I felt was an important lesson for me to learn. I didn't understand who goes in my CRM.
What's a CRM?
So my customer relations management software, or client relations. But I was told early on, very early, in the first month of real estate, everywhere you go, collect business cards, put those people in your CRM, and start sending them stuff. Start sending them emails. And the amount of unsubscribes and people, I was like, I don't know who any of these people are. But it's important to actually connect with people. Yes. And I really didn't, I hate to say make the connection, but I really didn't make that connection in the beginning. Relationships are everything in this business. I was volunteering at the museums, at the firehouse, at the here, at the there. I was
Yeah.
volunteering lots of places. I love volunteering, but find your niche and spend time in it.
Yeah.
Spend time with the same people. Help the same people if you're volunteering or if you are, I don't know, go into a coffee shop or whatever. Get to know people on a more personal level. Don't throw every single person in your CRM and start blasting emails out to them.
I mean,
Nobody wants that.
you can still do that, but you also need to be what's the word, like I want to say proactive, but that's not the right word. You just need to be intentional.
You need to be intentional. That's
Yes.
exactly right.
Intentional is a good word, because I do feel that. And there's lots of things that we do on a regular basis. I mean, even with the YPN group that I'm a part of, and it's like I'm there, and I feel like you said, like I'm volunteering my time, but all of those people that I'm working with on a daily basis. And I had a conversation with one of the gentlemen that's on the board with me this year, and it was just like, yeah, like you're intimidating. And I was like, I'm so sorry. But in the same aspect, like I love to hear that feedback, because it makes me like want to make sure that like I'm having those intentional conversations so that people feel like I'm approachable, because
Yeah.
I will help anybody do anything. Of course, I'm as long as I have the time for it, or I'll give them the direction, I'll connect them with the right people. So yeah, be intentional in your connections.
Yeah.
That's good. I love that.
Yep.
I love this. This
I
is
know,
so
it's
great.
very good.
Okay, so anything else that you've learned? Anything that comes up that you think?
One thing that is really important that I didn't do, that you mentioned already, read everything.
Yes.
I got in a bad situation with a contract because I did not pay attention to the fine print. And I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. But I ended up having to pay $1,000 to my buyer because at the end of the transaction, because what the seller's agent told me would be left in the home was not. And I didn't put that in the contract. I didn't read the contract carefully enough to know those little things that we talked about specifically, they weren't there. So I had to pay for them.
Yeah.
At the end of the deal, because my buyer was unhappy and I wanted them to have a great experience. And without that stuff, they were feeling
they felt like cheated.
Yeah. And not understood. And so read everything. It's important to read, just read it and then read it again.
Yeah, read, and then, like, what do we say? Check, double check, and recheck.
Yes.
So it's funny, and I was thinking about just putting my 2 cents on that, because it's even when you're writing it as well too. So whether you're reading it in a contract, or you're writing it into a contract, or even if it's just normal life stuff, like if you're gonna send a text message or you're gonna post a post, just somebody told me a long time ago there, and we used to joke about it. So it was like CYA, it's either call your attorney or cover your ass, one of those two. But then a step further is, they're like, if you're gonna put it in writing, just remember, whatever you're writing, be willing to read that out loud in front of a judge. And I thought that was like, that was good advice. Information. That so is... like there's so many times that I want to send somebody like a piece of my mind, and I'm like, all right, and then I just delete it, like, because I feel like writing it out and then just deleting it makes me feel better, because you can't take back what you say, but then you also want to make sure that whatever you're writing, you're going to be able to get up and be like, okay, judge, yep, I said this, or I did this, or I wrote that. That's so
excellent advice.
That is something I try to share all the time, but it came to my mind. So last question for you, and we'll get this all wrapped up, but how do you differentiate yourself from a competitive market? Like, what's your niche? If you could work with a specific client, what would that look like for you?
I love celebrating our community heroes. When I created the Hero Home Assistance Program, my goal was really to focus on teachers.
Okay.
My daughter-in-law is a teacher. My sister-in-law is a teacher. They are severely underpaid and underappreciated.
Yes, they are.
And what I wanted to do was create a program to help teachers and other community heroes be able to live reasonably close to where they work. You know, Pinellas County is very expensive. There are a lot of people who can't afford to live in Pinellas County.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to really focus on helping them be able to have a place to live that they could afford. And by giving back to them, I felt like that was my way of doing my little part. So I do focus on community heroes, teachers, firefighters. I volunteer at the police department. So,
Okay.
you know, I have a strong love for our law enforcement officers. But the other people I really want to be able to help is first time home buyers. And that's not for everybody because everybody, it's a lot of work.
It is a
You
lot of
know, they're
work.
a lot of work, but what a tremendous feeling to be able to help a young couple who has only rented ever
Yeah.
and they own their home. And I get pictures from people still, you know,
That's
people who
awesome.
I've had transactions with over the past couple of years, and they're like, "Look how great the house looks," or "We changed the kitchen, and look, we can hang pictures because we own this place." So,
Yes.
first time home buyers, it's really really important for me that they are able to have a great place to live and make their own. That's such a big deal.
Yeah, so with that, do you so with those first time home buyers, like it doesn't stop when they buy the
Oh,
home.
no, absolutely not.
Yes,
Absolutely not.
because that is, I mean, I feel like that's a whole nother, and maybe that's one of the, I want to say, because I feel like I'm so busy, and that's like, I would love if that was my only job to help and coach and nurture people, I would love that. But I do feel like that is one thing, like I'm constantly telling people, and it's a program I really wanted to implement, but I don't know how to even keep track of it. But I would love to be able every year to just be like, hey, I'm sending a home inspector to your house. They're going to give you a list of all the things that you don't see on a daily basis. Because that's the only other information that I really tell people. Because it's, I mean, even my own personal house, I'm like, there's little things that I see that
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I should just get an inspection. So that you can prepare for the AC breaking or
Mhm.
make sure that there's no roof leaks because you're not crawling in your attic. I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
do you even know where your attic access is? Like, so it's just those little things where even like the shutoff valve that the home inspector is like, yeah, it's on the right side of the house, and then you have a leak, and it's like, oh, where is that? It's
Yeah.
just it's the information overload, like you said. Like we have so much knowledge in our brains, but it's really just connecting people with the right people. So I love that. I love the the pictures and all of that that you get after the fact as well too,
Yeah.
because you get those on the days that you're like, I could really go find a new job today, and then you get some sweet message like that, and you're like,
Yep.
nope, this is why I do what I do.
Yep.
All right, anything else that you want to tell a new agent that maybe you thought of as we were going, or somebody looking to get into it? Any other piece of advice?
Yeah, you know, I would say if someone is saying to you, come and visit this, we do a meeting once a month and everyone is welcome and we really just want to help encourage people who are new to the business or who need that little something something.
Yeah.
You know, let other people help you. If people are saying, and I do it all the time and I know Angie does it all the time too, if I see something that where someone is struggling and I say, I'm happy to help you with this, we mean that, you know.
Yes.
So if
Oh,
someone is
yes.
reaching out and saying, I'm happy to help you, everyone welcome, know that that is true. There are people out there who believe that way, who live that way, and let them help you.
Yeah.
I didn't have those people in my first year or so of real estate, and I think things could have been drastically different had I had them and allowed them to
Yes.
come into my life and help me.
Well, it's a twofold, right? I'm always willing to help. I'm always willing to pick up the phone and answer questions, and it's turned into kind of a group. We were meeting weekly, now we're meeting monthly, because everybody's schedules are crazy and more business is being done, so it's really working. But it's also like as much as I'm helping, they're also helping me. So like when I met Ange, I was just inspired. She's a go getter. She is into everything. She's at every event. She's reading every little detail. And I'm like, God, I want to be like you. And I just appreciate it. So she's driving me to be better. I'm doing more trainings, and everybody's learning, everybody's growing.
Yeah.
There's a caveat to the relationship as well too. Like I don't enjoy doing certain things. She loves doing those certain things. So it's been a great relationship,
Yeah.
and it's just expanding. I mean, so I think right now with our little group that we have, we cover from let's say Sarasota to the Gainesville area, and that's a huge network to have. So thank you guys for
Thank
watching.
you.
We appreciate you. If you want to share, like, subscribe on the button below, and that is it. So have a great day, y'all.
Bye.